Peter Barba, co-founder and CEO at Lectrium. Thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, absolutely, Jordan. It's going to be an electric day. I see some electric guitars behind you, so let's have some fun. Yeah.
That's great. Your journey in automotive has been really cool. Like on the entrepreneur side, over the last few years, you've gone from doing in-home charging units now to switching over to more tools that help dealers sell their electric vehicles better. So give us like a recap of what you're looking at now and like what that relaunch may look like. Maybe some stuff you're excited about this year. Just tell me what you're thinking.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, just a bit of background. Automotive is kind of in my blood. I'm born and raised in Cleveland, Ohio. My grandfather actually worked for General Motors for 35 years.
Yeah.
And my mom is actually Norwegian, which kind of led me into the EV space because Norway is the best-selling country in the world for electric vehicles, with almost 90% of new cars sold being electric.
Yeah.
So I actually went and studied there, built some hypotheses back in the early 2020s about how EV adoption would play out in the US. Met an awesome co-founder, Ziggy, got some awesome investors. I'm actually in my investor's office today, Antler Global. And we started out with home charging. We still believe that every home in the US needs a level 2 charger to, fill their vehicle's battery up overnight. But really, throughout that journey and scaling up home charging through dealerships, we realized that, there were other problems to solve as well. And one problem that we're really passionate about right now at Lectrium is we want to help dealerships sell EVs with better data, reduce their days on lot, and really just communicate with customers about why electric vehicles can be positive. Obviously, they're not for everyone yet, but for many people, owning an EV does make a lot of sense, especially if it's your second car. In many cases, total cost of ownership has reached parity with similar ICE vehicles. So really, that's our passion right now, is helping dealerships, go from many, many decades of selling ICE cars to being confident in selling EVs with great data, great processes, and great people and vendors around them to support them.
Yeah. What I love about that entire journey is you go and you went back and looked at that for what they were doing in Norway and over in Europe, and you're able to see that, hey, they were able to adopt EVs correctly in those areas. Now, I know the US is a little bit different, infrastructure-wise, personality-wise, but it's been proven that it can work. And as long as you have the right buy-in from either the consumer or from the dealership at that level, like it works. So obviously, you've been through a lot of things now on the EV side. It's kind of cool because a lot of times someone that's in the EV space, they're running in like one lane, but for you've been able to run in a few lanes simultaneously. What's one of the biggest things that you've learned over the last few years for the EV space within automotive?
One thing I'm really excited about right now is, I saw it in Norway, how it played out over, many years, and it's playing out right now in America, is policy drives action.
Sure.
And there's been a lot of talk about the federal clean vehicle tax policy, and now a bunch of states coming out with their own electric vehicle policies as well. And really, the incentives are matching up really nicely for consumers to adopt electric vehicles. I'm really excited about communicating the total cost of ownership of an EV in a transparent way to consumers, and helping dealerships just take all the crazy data that's changing at all times from the federal government, the state governments, the local utilities in their area, the OEM, how are gas prices and electricity prices changing in real time, and just communicating a full picture to their customers so that, when they get asked a question, they don't have to shuffle around papers in their desk. They can just have a little bit of software that, answers a question in seconds and leads to a sale rather than, minutes or even hours.
Yeah. Well, even like the transparency side for consumers, now it's so much more clear with your software what a consumer is actually paying for a vehicle. That makes it so much easier. Instead of having to say, oh, this Toyota BZ4X is $46,000 plus tax, plus this, plus that, you can have a clearer image of what that looks like and what it really costs to own that vehicle. And even the state level incentives that are coming out, like Washington State, we have the used car incentive that's really dropped in for EVs. There's just a lot of information out there coming from a lot of different directions. It really needs to be centralized somewhere so that it's really clear on what that price is. What are your thoughts on that?
That's exactly what powers Lectrium is. My co-founder Ziggy and our tech team have built an awesome database with over 1,000 electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids that have been produced since 2015 or 2012. Pretty much every electric vehicle or plug-in hybrid that's ever been sold in the U.S. And we have the battery size, whether it's over or under 7 kilowatt hours. We have all the range data, we have the charging speed data, pretty much all the data on the electric vehicle that isn't collected by normal feed providers. And then we, in real time match it up with federal and state tax incentive data. So, really to make nice software in this automotive space with so many different brands, so many different cars, so many different, variables out there, it's really powered by having a crisp and clean database that you can trust and kind of manipulate and add to in real time. So I'm just really grateful that our tech team has been so talented to build that database. We're starting to work with some really good vendors to provide data to us to make our database even more powerful. And that really enables us to power and give information to dealerships in real time so that they can answer questions for consumers and paint an accurate total cost of ownership and range picture for them.
Yeah. When was it that you first fell in love with EVs or with automotive? I mean, you've had quite an experience so far, but when did that inflection point happen for you?
Yeah. So, I went to boarding school in high school and didn't drive to school. And then I went to Columbia University in New York for college, which is in Manhattan, and I didn't have a car. So, it took me a little bit longer than it may have in other cases to fall in love with automotive and EVs. But really once I started talking to my Norwegian family and, understanding how electric vehicles were being adopted in Norway and just really thinking about how to make it as big of an impact as I can. After my career in finance and investment banking was, taught me a lot, but wasn't necessarily the most, personally rewarding. I wanted to make a big impact. And I do believe in, a cleaner, quieter community for us all to live in without tailpipe emissions and generally just help technology that helps people in their day-to-day life. And once I kind of really started researching electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids and kind of understanding that this was a shift in automotive that I could help help not only consumers but also businesses adapt to. I really became passionate about it, and now my main hobby is just researching new EVs that come out, reading policy, and it's gone from an idea to a career to my main passion.
Yeah. Well, when I had first met you and first talked to you, one of the things that really stuck out to me was you were an investment banker, and the way that you studied that, went through that, and then transitioned over to automotive. What that tells me is it's really your heart to push change, across the nation. It's not about you're chasing something that's just for you. It's really about trying to push the entire industry forward and finding the right ways to do that. I just love that part about it. And even looking forward to the rest of this year, what are some things you're working on right now that you're excited about that are going to either roll out or maybe even changes in the industry that you're looking forward to? Maybe some big incentives that are coming at the state level that dealers should know about. What's something you're excited about that's going to happen in the next few months or this year?
Absolutely. I'll get to that in one second, but thank you for bringing up my background. I am proud of it. Even before going into investment banking, I played basketball at Columbia and led the Ivy League in 3-point percentage for a year and was our team captain. And for me, leadership is a really important part of automotive. And I've actually been so surprised in a pleasant way to see so many great leaders, not only in their communities, but in their businesses and in these auto groups around the country that have band promoted by ASOTU and other outlets that are just doing amazing work. So I have a lot of people I now look up to in automotive and I see the positive impacts they're making.
That's cool.
Yeah, and then transitioning into this industry has been awesome. But in terms of what I'm really looking forward to, there are over 100 new electric vehicle models coming out in 2024. Yeah. And for me, it's really exciting that a lot of brands that didn't have an EV in the past now have them. I look at Cadillac and the Lyric now taking up 16% of Cadillac's total sales being electric. And I'm like, wow, 2 years ago, a Cadillac dealership didn't have any EV inventory, and now it's happening with Honda with the Prologue. It's happening with Chevy again with the Blazer and the Equinox and the Silverado EV, and with Acura and the ZDX. So just generally, I'm excited for all the makes and models that come out. And secondly, my company Lectrium has been a part of a program called Urban X now for 3 months. And Urban X is sponsored by BMW and Mini Cooper. And we've worked with the Mini team specifically now for the last 3 months in person in Brooklyn to, get a really fun announcement ready for the automotive community and for the dealership community, which we'll be releasing very soon. And, it just really will kind of firm up our commitment as Lectrium to dealerships and how we want to help them, sell more electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids, and just communicate, everything with their customers in a more smooth way. So I'm really excited about that announcement, and I'm really grateful to Mini and BMW and the Urban X team. They've put 5 awesome, seasoned professionals on our team for the past 3 months to help coach us with business model, cool. With go-to-market, with product, with branding, with PR. So it's been the most I've learned in my life these past 3 months.
Yeah, that's cool. So to be announced, right?
To be announced, yeah. But spoiler alert, we are all in on dealerships at Lectrium, and it'll be announced very soon.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting too. So you brought up BMW and Mini. Obviously, they're out of Germany. So when they're over there, they really have a good. They really have their fingers on the pulse of what that EV network looks like, and what EV consumers look like in Europe. It's really easy for them to somewhat translate that over to the US. I think that the American manufacturers have had a little bit harder time to really lean into that, because BMW and Mini, and other European manufacturers had access to those already primed EV buyers. But it's really cool to see that American manufacturers have really started to figure that out and have really big investment. Even Asian manufacturers like Honda. So I think in the next, just like you said, do you say there's 100 models that will be out this year alone?
I think it's the actual number is 134. So I think it's over 100. Yeah. Okay. And I'm really excited about that. And when it comes to, when it comes to specifically dealerships in general right now, sentiment around EVs is slightly on the pessimistic side. I do read all these headlines, and I follow, all the major leaders who were outspoken, at least in the automotive community on LinkedIn. And trust me, the startups and people innovating in EVs, we also understand that it's been hard to sell EVs. We see the days on market number, reaching 150 or something in February, and dropping after Ford, lowered prices on the Mach-E, but still higher than everyone wants it. And my message for all dealerships, owners, GMs, internet directors, marketing directors, anyone who's working every day and trying to sell EVs is really, when things are hard, there's 2 options. Option 1 is, this is really hard in EVs right now. You can choose to ignore it and to, kind of talk bad about it and not adjust. And the second option, and what really excites me, is I'm starting to see dealerships and dealership groups taking a different path, which is they understand it's hard, and they're making the investments, and they're, trying to become the best in their area to compete against D2C EV only companies, and, get ready for a future in which not only 8% of new car sales are electric, but 10, and then 12, and beyond. So I'm really happy to see some leaders stepping up and saying, yes, this is difficult, but yes, I'm doubling down on not only installing DC fast chargers and not only doing the OEM training, but I'm also going to take the step beyond that, which is exciting for me to see.
Yeah. Well, it's so clear your passion, Peter, and it's so clear that you want to affect change for dealerships and for consumers across the country. I know we only had a short time today. We're going to have you back on again so we can talk more about this and go further into detail. But Peter, just thanks for joining me today.
Jordan, thanks for having me. I'm excited to come to Baltimore next year. I love what you guys are building at ASOTU. I've learned a lot just from listening to these episodes, and I'll continue being a listener as well. So thank you.
Thanks for watching this episode of In the Dirt with ASOTU. If you're new to our channel, make sure and mash that like and subscribe button. Also, check out some of these links for our other great podcasts and content.